There comes a moment in life when you realize you've had enough. Enough of being taken for granted, enough of waiting for change that never comes, enough of tolerating behaviors that drain your energy. They thought you would stay, that you would keep bending, keep forgiving, keep allowing the same cycle to repeat. But you didn't. You made a choice, not out of anger, not out of resentment, but out of self-respect. And that choice changed everything. See, people get comfortable when they think you'll always be there. They test boundaries, push limits, and assume that no matter how they treat you, you'll always come back. But one day something inside you snapped, not in a way that made you bitter, but in a way that made you wake up. You realized your worth wasn't up for debate, and the moment you decided to move on, you took back your power. Because the truth is, you don't lose people when you walk away from toxicity. You gain yourself. You gain clarity, peace, and a future free from the weight of someone else's nonsense. And when you walk away, something incredible happens. You show them that the version of you they mistreated no longer exists. At first it was small, a comment here, an action there, things that made you pause, but not enough to walk away. You told yourself it was nothing, that they didn't mean it, that maybe you were overthinking, but deep down, you felt it. Disrespect doesn't always come with a slap in the face. Sometimes it comes in whispers, in eye rolls, in broken promises, in the slow erosion of your dignity. And for a while, you tolerated it. You convinced yourself that they would change, that if you just gave more, proved your worth more, stayed a little longer, they'd finally treat you right. But that's not how it works. Disrespect only grows when it's ignored. And the longer you tolerated it, the more they thought they could get away with it. Until one day you saw it for what it was, a pattern, a game, a test to see how much you'd put up with. And instead of playing along, you walked away. You didn't need revenge, didn't need to prove a point. The moment you stopped excusing their behavior, you made the most powerful statement of all. You showed them that your love, your presence, your time, none of it was to be taken lightly. And now they're left wondering how they ever thought they could treat you like that and still keep you. They underestimated you. They thought you were too attached, too forgiving, too afraid of being alone to ever leave. And for a while they were right. You gave chances, you overlooked flaws, you compromised, because that's what kind people do. But what they didn't realize was that kindness has limits. It's not weakness, it's not an invitation for mistreatment, and it's not an excuse for them to keep testing you. They mistook your patience for permanence. They assumed that no matter how they treated you, you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, forgiving. But everyone has a breaking point. And when you reached yours, it wasn't loud, it wasn't a dramatic exit. It was silent, firm, final. One day, you simply decided you were done. No warnings, no explanations, just a quiet, unshakable decision to move on. And that's what shook them the most. Because when someone who has always been there finally leaves, the absence is deafening. They feel the loss, not immediately, but in the moments they expect you to be there and realize you're not. They check their phone and see no messages from you. They walk into a room and feel the emptiness where your energy used to be. And that's when it hit them. They didn't just lose you, they lost the version of you who would have done anything for them. At first, they don't notice. They assume you'll come back, that this is just another one of those times where you need space, but eventually you'll return. But days turn into weeks and weeks into months, and reality starts to set in. You're really gone. And that's when the regret starts creeping in. They replay every moment, every conversation, every missed opportunity to treat you better. They remember the times they dismissed your feelings, the times they chose their ego over your love, the times they took your presence for granted. And suddenly it's too late, because by the time they realize what they lost, you've already healed. You've moved on, grown, become someone new, someone who would never tolerate what you once did. And that's the real pain for them. Not just losing you, but knowing they had every chance to keep you and they threw it away. The regret doesn't come when you're still hurting. It comes when you've already found your happiness without them. And no matter how much they wish they could turn back time, they can't. Because when you walked away, you didn't just leave them, you left behind the version of you who would have accepted their nonsense. You didn't just leave them behind, you left behind the stress, the disappointment, the weight of constantly trying to prove your worth. And in its place, you found freedom. Moving on wasn't just about walking away from them. It was about walking toward yourself, toward the peace you forgot you deserved, toward the love that doesn't require suffering, toward a life where you don't have to shrink yourself just to make someone else comfortable. And let's be real, at first it was hard. Letting go of someone you once cared about, breaking the habit of reaching out, resisting the urge to check up on them. But day by day, it got easier. You rediscovered parts of yourself that had been buried under the weight of that relationship. You started laughing more, dreaming bigger, living without fear of someone else's opinions. And now, looking back, you don't miss them. You don't regret walking away, because in leaving them, you found something far more valuable: yourself. Nothing hits harder than the glow up after a breakup, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You leveled up in ways they never expected. They thought you'd be lost without them, but instead, you thrived. They thought you'd break, but you built yourself stronger. You went from seeking validation from them to validating yourself, from questioning your worth to knowing exactly what you bring to the table. And now they see it. They see you smiling, succeeding, glowing in a way they never thought possible. And it stings, not because they hate seeing you happy, but because they know they're no longer part of that happiness. They watch from a distance, realizing too late that they had something amazing, and they let it go. But by the time they finally understand your worth, you're already too far ahead, too healed, too happy, too free to ever look back. The realization always hits too late when they see you thriving without them, when they notice the peace in your eyes, the confidence in your walk, the happiness that no longer includes them. That's when they come back. It starts subtly: a random text, a comment on your post, a message just to check in. But you see through it. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you that tolerated them. They miss the validation, the security, the comfort of knowing you were always an option. But the version of you that would have entertained them no longer exists. You've outgrown the games, the excuses, the emotional roller coasters. You don't need closure, an explanation, or one last conversation. You already got your closure the moment you chose yourself. And now their attempts to return feel empty, because once you've truly moved on, there's nothing left for them to come back to. You're no longer waiting, wondering, or hoping. You're living. And they're just a lesson you've already learned. There's a moment when you realize you don't even care anymore. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to hurt the way you did. You don't even need them to apologize, because you've won in the most powerful way possible, by moving on. Nothing unsettles someone more than realizing they no longer have control over you, that their words no longer affect you, their absence no longer hurts, their presence is no longer needed. You don't seek revenge because you're too busy building a life that makes their memory irrelevant. Your success, your happiness, your peace, that's the real victory, because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And when you reach the point where you can look at them, remember everything, and feel absolutely nothing, that's when you know you've truly won. The hardest pill for them to swallow is that you kept going, that life didn't stop when they left, that you didn't crumble, that you didn't spend forever waiting. They thought they were irreplaceable, but the truth is no one is. People who bring negativity into your life aren't losses, they're lessons. And once the lesson is learned, you move on to something better. But them, they stuck in regret, stuck in the past, stuck wondering if they made the wrong choice. Because while you were growing, healing, evolving, they stayed the same. And now, the person they once knew, the person who would have answered their texts, given them another chance, waited for their change, is gone. The saddest part, they only realize your value once they no longer have access to you. But by then, you're too far ahead to even look back. Looking back, you don't regret leaving. You don't regret the pain, the lessons, the growth, because everything that happened led you to this version of yourself, the one who knows their worth, who refuses to settle, who chooses peace over chaos. You're stronger now, not just because you walked away, but because you survived everything that tried to break you. You're wiser not just because you learned, but because you refused to repeat the same mistake. And you're happier not because you replaced them, but because you found something they could never give you, your own peace. They thought you would tolerate their nonsense forever, but you didn't. You moved on, and that's the greatest thing you've ever done. Now tell me, what was the moment that made you realize you had to walk away? Drop a comment below. And if you've ever had to leave someone behind for your own peace, type "I choose me" in the comments. Because at the end of the day, that's the most powerful choice you can ever make.